Hi, Benjamin here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the lease agreement. This is a common question about a lease agreement, and usually somebody wants to know what should be in it. I'm going to be looking at a California one. To find one for your state, this is what you need to do. Go into Google and type residential lease agreement, hit enter, boom, you'll get, a dozen or so websites where they're actually going to give you one for free. So they're pretty good. There's just a couple things that you want to make sure are in them. You can see the wording here, the lease agreement. This is the date. It's between herein referred to as landlord, your name, and then the tenant's name here. Pretty straightforward. The lease agreements are some of the easiest forms I've ever had to fill out. Here you get down into the term. This is my recommendation. Do a lease for a tenant that is new. Do a 6-month lease, and after the 6 months, if it's a good tenant, you should pretty much know by then. And you can either have them fill out another lease form for a month-to-month agreement, or you could have this clever wording here. And it says right here, tenant shall be required to vacate the premise unless one of the following circumstances occur: landlord and tenant formally agree in writing or create a new written and signed agreement. Okay, or landlord willingly accepts new rent from tenant which does not constitute past due rent. In the event the landlord accepts from tenant the new rent, a month-to-month tenancy shall kick in. Okay, that's an excellent wording. And that way you don't have to get the tenant to re-sign this and so forth. It automatically defaults to a month-to-month. The reason you don't want to start out at a month-to-month is that you really don't know if that tenant's going to be a good tenant. I mean, hopefully you've done all the right background checks, credit checks, screening for any court cases, followed up with the prospects in employer, verified employment, and how long they've worked there. As long as you've done these things, you're most likely not going to have any problems. But in the event that you do, it's nice to have a 6-month lease, because at 6 months that tenant is out of there, and so you've got pretty much that as a backdrop. So if they don't pay you rent, you should really serve the 3-day notice to pay rent or quit once the rent is late. But it's nice to have the fact that the lease agreement also expires on this date, and that the tenant signed that, just as an added law to fall back on. Okay, then we go into the rent. It's pretty straightforward. There's a couple things here. Okay, acceptable forms of payment. Check all that apply. I recommend that you check all of these. You don't want to run into an issue where the tenant goes in front of a judge and says, well, I tried to pay my rent, but they would not take my cash, or they would not take my check. You want to be able to say, Your Honor, that's a lie. That's not the case here. And you want to be able to pull out this lease agreement and show how you've checkmarked and the tenant signed this form on all of the forms of payment that you're willing to take. Okay, upon the completion. Okay, damage. All right. This is what I recommend. Get $600 as a deposit from the tenant. And that's a tenant without any pets. If the tenant has pets, you should get an additional $300 for each pet. So if they have 2 pets, then you're looking at $600, another $600, so you're looking at $1,200. Now, my recommendation to you is do not allow pets. Just flat out tell people, prospects, when they call, and if they're interested, say, I do not allow pets, period. This is why. Even a small dog that is trained to go outside will still drip urine into your carpets. Even a small dog, now get this, will put up anywhere from 10 to 15 pounds worth of urine in your carpet per year. So you're going to, if you try to move in a new tenant, they're going to immediately start complaining about the smell in the carpets. You're not going to be able to smell anything, and you're going to have to rip up all the carpets and all the padding underneath anyways. So you might as well just don't allow pets. Unless you're willing to incur the cost of ripping out the carpet and changing the padding every time you turn the unit if a tenant stays there for any lengthy period of time with pets. Another key thing is use of the premises. Tenant should not allow any other person other than the tenant's immediate family or transient relatives and friends to occupy the premise without first contacting you. You got to have this. And another thing is this right here, assignment and subletting. In case you don't know, subletting would be you're renting your house out to a tenant. That tenant turns around and rents out your house to another tenant. No, don't let that happen. So, and here you can see right here, an assignment, subletting, or license without the prior consent of the landlord, or an assignment or subletting violation of law shall be absolutely null and void. This is a key thing to have. Don't allow your tenants to sublet your home. Alterations and improvements. Another important thing to have. There's some great forms. These are all the things that you should have in your lease. Don't attempt to do this on your own, folks. Don't attempt to put into a Word just something that you slap together really quickly. Don't do that. Use this. This is fantastic. Again, type in residential leases into Google and click on your state. And you can get just some fantastic free leases. And best of all, you don't have to pay hundreds of dollars to a lawyer to get one. I'm looking over this one here, and this looks really good. Everything is pretty much included in here. Okay, late charge. You always want to specify the late charge. And so what I would do is I would say a fee in the amount of $25 as of the 5th. And then each additional day, $3 more. That's about what I like. I know some people that will go $25 after the 5th and then tack on $5 per day. So I just like to do 3. So you want to write that out and specify it here. Any rent that comes in after the 5th is automatically subject to a $25 late charge fee plus $3 per day after that. And you've got your abandonment, you've got your attorney fees that you pass back on to the tenant, which is nice to have that in your agreement. Again, not that can be upheld, but it's still good to have these things. And that's pretty much it. Of course, your name and then the tenant's name and signed and dated. That's pretty much it. I hope you find this video helpful. And again, you can get a lot of good leases exactly like this over the internet for free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Thank you very much for watching this video. Bye.